Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about Lee Syatt, who's the producer for Joey Diaz's podcast. But for the longest time, I'd say producing that podcast was secondary in terms of his job description, and his primary responsibility was to take edibles. And Joey definitely found the right man for the job with Lee, because this dude would take thousands of milligrams of edibles and still do a pretty good job of producing the podcast, even though he would, of course, mess up once in a while. Mostly he'd forget to switch cameras, but I don't know what people expect. You know, the fact that he's able to function at all is impressive. I mean, because half the time, the guy could barely even open his eyes.
Co-star in The Church of What's Happening Now is completely asleep at the wheel. He's on the show, and his eyes are almost totally closed. There's barely a slit, and he's just dazed.
And sometimes the poor guy could barely even talk. Like, you could see him use all the energy he has just to get out one sentence right here. And then he leans his head back, but then you see him realize, like, oh yeah, I still have to do my job.
Your dear friend.
What? What did he say?
He's your dear friend. And he kicked him up.
Yeah. It's sad, man. Dude,
Rest in peace.
yeah, rest in peace for sure, man.
Yeah, and sometimes he'd forget to switch camera angles to whoever's talking, and you could see him be like, oh shit. But nobody was complaining. You know, I don't think anybody cared. They thought it was hilarious. And like this comment says, they should have just had a split screen with a Lee cam going the whole time.
Our flight, I took 10 of them before I got on the flight. I took 3 more when I got off the flight. Look at me. I'm Slim Jim Magoo today. I'm feeling good. I'm looking good. I got a good night's sleep. And I didn't have much jet lag whatsoever.
And sometimes if he's being too quiet, Joey would try to get him involved, but he can only focus on one thing at a time. I mean, when you're on thousands of milligrams of edibles, I think just flipping cameras back and forth is about all you can handle. You know, you can't expect the guy to follow along in a conversation.
You want to do Lee? You're going to sit there and just like a moat till that? What's going on with you?
What?
Everybody's conversing here.
Yeah, you're
and
talking.
you're fucking sitting there like a mook on a fucking string. What's going on?
I never did coke. I don't know. Oh my god. I have no idea what we're talking about.
And, you know, I'd say he's more of Joey Diaz's test subject than a producer. Like this comment says, Joey had his own MK Ultra program going on his podcast. And it's crazy because before he started working for Joey, I think he said he only did edibles once and smoked weed maybe a couple times. And Joey would act like Lee taking edibles was just part of the training for the job. And it got to the point where Lee said he needed to take at least 600 milligrams for it to even be worth it. And you know it's gotten pretty out of hand when even Ari Shaffir is like, dude, that is crazy. But you can see Joey, he loves it. He is so proud of Lee. Like he said, he turned him into a functioning savage.
He wasn't like that before he met you, though.
No, but he's having a great time.
You turned that kid into a freak.
He's not a freak, man. I turned him into a functioning savage.
The problem with the red ones, though, is I have to eat 5 of them to even feel anything.
What? How much are the red ones?
125.
You see 5 of those to feel anything.
Well, worth feeling. What am I gonna get a little high?
No, I know. I get the feeling. I get that. But at 625 is you're like, yeah, I mean, let's do it if we're gonna do it. That's what that is.
Yeah, pretty much now. After 4 years of constant marijuana training. Like, it's not like you're filming a documentary either. It's like you just want to do it
Yeah,
for
it's not
yourself.
even
You're like, I'll keep them around and see what happens.
Do you think you get to 1,000?
I've been to 1,000.
You've been to 1,000. You've crossed the 4 digits.
Yeah.
Damn.
The first thing I ever gave you was the 35s. I used to split the 35s in half.
Okay.
And then I knew that they came in 180. After about a month or 5 weeks of 35, I took it like a weight regimen.
And then Joey compares it to going to the gym. But it's so funny to see guests' reaction to him because they're just like, what is going on here? Is he all right? And at least Joey checks on him during the podcast. You know, he kind of treats him like a pet. He'll be like, Lee, doing all right? Do you need to go outside and get some air or something? So it's wild. But before I get into that, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Factor. This is a great service, especially for somebody who is lazy like me. Because with Factor, you can get high quality, fresh, never frozen meals sent right to your doorstep each week, and they're ready to go in only 2 minutes. So with Factor, you get all the flavor and nutritional quality you need without spending time cooking, preparing, cleaning, or taking trips to the grocery store. and their menus are updated weekly, and they have over 27 different meals and 33 add-ons. And you could either choose your favorite meals, or you let Factor craft your order based on your taste preferences and meal history. And Factor is very flexible. You can easily adjust your order size, and you can skip a week if you need to. And if you guys want to get started today, you can get 50% off your first box if you just head over to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 2lazy50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Again, that's factor75.com or click the link below and use code 2lazy50 to get 50% off your first box. And thanks again to Factor for sponsoring this video. Yeah, so like I was saying, Joey would always be like, "Oh, poor Lee, look at him over there. You doing all right, man? You need to go outside and get some air." And of course, his response was always pretty concerning.
What's going on, buddy? You all right over there? You all right over there? You want to go outside and get some air?
I'm okay.
Tell me the truth. You want to go outside and get some air?
Man, dude.
And that's from a classic podcast episode right there. Theo Vaughn was the guest on Joey Diaz's podcast. It's episode number 383 if you want to listen to it. In my opinion, it's definitely one of the funniest podcasts. And I actually recently just talked about it on Patreon. But yeah, him and Theo Vaughn were great together. And I think Theo would probably say this is one of his favorite podcast appearances. And you could tell he really likes hanging out with Lee.
Poor Lee. He's having a hard time.
He's
over there.
beautiful now.
Oh.
He's beautiful. He's just got the fucking Lord running through his veins. I love that, bro. That's Christ.
Lee is.
That's Christ reaching for
I
him.
don't
You
know
can
if you
see
know.
that.
Poor fucking Lee.
Lee, man. Dude, it's so funny. You know, sometimes when I'm not even joking about when I would need to think about something good, dude, I think about Lee, man.
Well, thank you. That means a lot.
And it's nice to have Lee on the podcast because if you're also doing edibles like most of Joey's guests would do, and you start to think like, damn, I'm way too high for this podcast. But then you can just look over at Lee and be like, oh shit, maybe not. But unfortunately, not even Lee could save Owen Benjamin when he was on that podcast. Like, he took probably less than a tenth of what Lee normally takes, and he ended up walking out and then basically just fell off the map after that. So I think the fact that Lee managed to take 10 to 20 times that amount pretty much every podcast for maybe like 5 years, if not longer, is really impressive. And I think he did finally start to take it easy. You know, I believe him and Joey still do a podcast together, but I can't imagine he goes this hard. He also lost a lot of weight. I think he lost like 120 pounds, which is also really impressive. And it's just good he was able to make it out of this. You know, like a lot of people were probably concerned about him.
His eyes haven't been open since I walked in here.
I'm not even going to eat tonight. I'm going to hold off and wait and see if I can fight off the munchies. Those were Custer's last words.
I mean, but what? He's got food on his shirt.
Water that I spit up.
Oh, my God.
How is there not a call to a welfare line?
Can I
or
tell you
for that
something
guy,
too?
dude?
Because I love Joey Diaz, but he was actually like a virus to that man. And he'd forget to like click. He was just sitting there snoring, sitting down, like snoring in his seat. And then Joey's like, look at this fucking idiot. He's like, you know what he does all day? He watches Sports Center. I hear his phone go, da-na-na, da-na-na. Like, get your fucking shit together, Lee. I'm like, you are crippling this man. Like, Sports Center is all he can handle.
He's working at Enterprise Rental now, dude.
And so he gives them enough to make you reconsider your existence in the universe.
While he's running the soundboard. And he doesn't fuck up. He's a good engineer.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if it's healthy to be around Joey all the time like that. Like, it can be really dangerous.
Well, also, Joey's so good to him. You know, they just have like a very, very unique relationship, man.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. And also Joey, he used to switch around edibles on him and give him a higher dosage, which is pretty bad, but I gotta give it to Lee. You know, he's a trooper. He just acted like this was part of the job, and he never really complained about it. You know, he could have been like Owen Benjamin, who I was just talking about. After he did the podcast, he said that Joey drugged him.
Last time he gave me an edible that basically paralyzed me for like 2 days. It was basically like he drugged me. And you wanted to take two? I know. Like, I was like, I'll take another one. And Joey's like, dog, you're going to see the devil stick. I'm like, oh, no way. I want to. When in Rome. And I was just like, so, no, I'm all right. I'm not going to say I have nightmares about it, but it's like, that was terrible.
Yeah, so Lee probably could have tried to cancel Joey or something like that, but I respect the fact that he was a good sport about it. And I believe he's still best friends with Joey, even though at this point he's got to have Stockholm Syndrome. But he's one of the best to ever do it. You know, there's not many people that can say they've taken over 3,000 milligrams of edibles and then also produced a podcast. You know, I don't know if there's anybody that could say that. And he somehow managed to hold it together the whole time. So what he accomplished is definitely impressive. And he provided a lot of entertainment. You know, like I said, if you want to hear a good podcast, listen to 383. And also, if you want to get some more extra content, check out my Patreon. There's a ton of good stuff on there. Like I talked about that podcast, and I just talk about some of the best podcast moments or most awkward or cringiest ones. You know, it's all over the place. And also, I cover a lot of podcast drama. So if you want to keep up to date with everything, make sure you check it out. There's probably over 50 videos on there at this point. Most of them are over 20 minutes. So check it out, and then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.
Goose is loose.